All right, buddy. Hey, how we doing?
What's up? What's up?
What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. How's the weather over there?
Say that again.
How's the weather over there?
Oof, and it's Ohio. We
Yeah,
got a couple inches last night, about 2 to 3. Saying we're gonna get possibly a few more tonight. So
yeah, that's what last yesterday was really, really bad. And I first time the Mustang had to deal with it, so that was a little sketchy. So
I bet that could be fun.
yeah, I was sliding all over the place. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to episode number 2 of Keith Change Podcast with Robbie and Mac. We're here to bring you our thoughts and opinions on sports, what's going on today. Today we're talking football again, since we are deep into the playoffs, man. How about what was your overall kind of thoughts, my friend, on how this weekend went?
And I predicted all the games right, which was pretty lucky. I should have put it all on a parlay. Didn't. Don't know why.
Don't you
One
don't you
bad
love when
luck.
that happens?
I'm happy for you guys. Super pumped for that. I did do two different two-leg parlays because I was a little unsure on the Niners Cowboys game going into it. Just
Yeah,
the way that the
same.
Cowboys played the week before.
Same.
Was
So
that a different
let's
ball game? But
yeah, let's start with that one because that was my because I didn't do too great this week on my picks, mostly because I was pulling for the underdogs. Um, but so I was a little unsure because you could anything could really happen here. I thought the Giants Eagles game was going to be a lot closer. That was a wash. We'll get to that later.
yeah,
But when it came to the Cowboys 49ers game, that was the one game that I had a solid feel on, and it ended up hitting. And that was the one where I wish I would have thrown the rent on it. I it was
yeah,
because I got a little down, so I was playing safe. Still won, a couple units on that, but I you look how confident I was on it, and I'm like, dang, like why didn't I just trust my gut? But talk about if you're a defensive fan, this was the game for that, and it played out exactly how I was saying. You got two great defenses, that are battling each other. Even though the Cowboys had good offensive times throughout the season, you're going against the 49ers defense, who's always known to have a good defense. And then, yeah, although Brock Purdy's been that guy the last couple weeks that he's been in, that Cowboys defense is so dangerous. So this game played out exactly. I said that slam the under. I think the under was at
yeah.
43, and this thing got nowhere near it. So yeah, man, I'm pumped that I was able to, at least that was my one go away. But talk to me. What are your thoughts on where do the Cowboys move from here, man? What do you do if you're Jerry Jones in the Cowboys franchise right now?
Tom Brady, just give him a blank check at this point and see if it can work.
Is I
Jerry
mean,
Jones
is
is crazy
Dak
enough. His pockets are deep enough.
Dak's nothing against Dak, but is Dak the guy
He's,
who's going to get him over the hill?
yeah, the dude's just too inconsistent. Like we said last week, you never know who's going to show up.
Right. And when he's
It
on, he's on.
was the Dak that led the NFL in interceptions this week.
And we also
Was it?
talked about, the Cowboys just needing to manage the game. And once again, you get a game-winning drive there in the fourth quarter, and that and again, not all on Dax. I think Schultz's little out of bounds play where he didn't drag his foot down, that was lazy. And
That's
again,
just lack of.
I say lazy as I would never be out there, so I say that openly as a fan. But then what was what was going on when they lined up for that last play? Were they
And
just
I
like,
was so excited to see what was going to happen there. And I was so confused. I just had to double take at the TV. And just, all right, is that Zeke?
that
It's
was
not
like
Zeke snapping the ball.
that was like something I draw up for flag football with the kids down here, man. That was
That was
yeah,
total Adam Sandler schoolyard bullshit right there.
poor Zeke got ran over. Just and like you
Uh,
could tell the 49ers guy ran him over was just like, I'm gonna do this. Like, are you like I love you, brother, but like you're leaving me no choice.
It's fair
Oh,
game.
dang, dude, that was nuts. But
Yeah, the one thing that really stuck out to me about that, where I think the Niners really did well, is they didn't allow Dak to be a game manager. They held
yeah,
the Cowboys to, I think, 75, 76 total rushing yards for the game.
right. And
Pollard getting hurt.
that
Zeke was held basically irrelevant. I mean, he was getting hit in the backfield, but he didn't make anything happen on his own either.
yeah, right. And I was gonna bring up that point. I do think Pollard getting hurt was a big factor in that game. But then, you still got Zeke. Why aren't you pounding the ball? And again, I think like you said, the 49ers were giving him good looks and really sticking it to him. But yeah, man, I don't know. And again, I think we were kind of talking about this after the game. It's like the teams that are there now, these are the teams that everyone kind of expect, like this is where you thought it would be. So this 49ers, and again we'll get to it, the Eagles one, no spoiler there. But I think this 49ers Eagles game is the one that everyone was kind of looking forward to. You got, the stout defense of the 49ers with the high flying offense of the Eagles, who also have a pretty solid defense. Their secondary, yeah, their secondary is unbelievable for the Philadelphia Eagles. So this should
And
be an
man, really, the
interesting one.
Eagles, that's what been their downfall for the last how many years is their secondary's just been Swiss cheese. There've been holes all over the place. They couldn't
Yeah.
do anything. But and kudos to their front office and Nick Sirianni for turning that team around.
So yep. So 49ers get the win over the Cowboys. So let's just keep it NFC then. Let's move right on over to that Giants Eagle game. My God. And I was all over the Giants. I had full faith in Danny Dimes. I
Another
I
big
thought
thing.
I thought it was going to be a little bit closer than that. My God, that was an awful performance by the Giants.
So much of a game.
No, and that it just, again, kind of foreshadowing when we get to the Bengals Bill. It's just there was such a hype up for this game, and the other team just didn't show up when it really came
Yeah.
down to it. Um, so what were your highlight? What were your takeaways from the Giants Eagles game?
And Eagles might just do it this year again. I was talking with, like I said, my buddy Kane at work again, and he is all hyped up. This guy is walking on cloud nine right now. He has every right to.
Yeah,
They've been the best team in football from week one. They just haven't let off, and I think a lot of that comes back to Jalen Hurts and the type of leader he is, and just his will to win.
yep.
Every story you hear about that guy, he's just the hardest working guy on the team and will do absolutely anything to win.
Yeah, and then I mean, what offensive weapons, man. We talk about the 49ers having weapons. I mean, you
Yeah.
look, they had three guys on the Eagles offense that all went over I think 1100 yards. I was just saying 1000, but I think the end of the day, I think it was like 1100. I mean, their run game's good. And they're multi-leveled with Jalen being able to run. And then you got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, who Devontae Smith, I love that we have Jamar Chase. I go back to that draft. Devontae was actually the receiver I wanted for the Bengals. I understand why we went to Chase, and I don't think anyone's complaining about that, and I'm not complaining. But on paper, I love Devontae because I knew what he could do. I know that first year, last year, Jalen and they weren't. Honestly, the Eagles just were out of sync, and they were just going through some growing pains. But this is why I'm so high on Dante Smith. The dude knows how to catch the ball and get open. He runs great routes and he's super quick and he has hands like glue, so and then again, you partner him over with AJ Brown. That's an unstoppable offense, man. That's really dangerous.
And how about the home field Philly advantage and the
Woo,
shenanigans of just magically in the middle of the night, a pipe bursts in the
dude.
hotel the Giants are staying at. So none of them get to take a hot shower before the game. And the
That's
Philly fans that were buying lacrosse tickets so they could tailgate across the street from the stadium starting at 8 o'clock. God, I bet it would have been a riot to be in that stadium
dude.
at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock when that game was going on.
Philly has one of the best fan support base, I would say, second behind Cleveland. But dang, you're so right. That atmosphere, man, is you could only imagine walking into it, and that is like a 12th man factor right there.
Oh yeah.
You are 100% right, and the whole city of Philly really loves their Eagles, and that does get intimidating. I wouldn't be surprised if that definitely did play a factor. And I didn't know about the pipe bursting. That's all. That's hilarious though. Dang, that could you imagine? Just you're in your hotel and you like day before one of your biggest games and a pipe burst. Like, what are the odds? You're right. Someone
Wake up in the morning, go to take a shower, nothing but ice cold water.
that's the old Philly mafia working for you right there.
And
All right.
that's
Well,
all it takes.
so let's talk about this. Now we got the Eagles, 49ers. How you see this one playing out, man?
And big Jalen Hurts fan, I know I've raved about him, but man, I love a good story, and the NFL does too. So,
Yeah.
what better stories out there right now than Mr. Irrelevant matching up with the former number one overall pick next week?
Potentially. Don't get too ahead of yourself. Don't you put that curse on me, Ricky Bobby. But no, I do think that I think I me you know how I bet I'm always a big story guy. Um,
Mhm.
but I think the Eagles are they've done the right things all season. And it's not just been like, oh, they're hot at the end. Like they've been consistent all year. Um, I think the key takeaways for Philly is really establishing a run game, threatening with Jalen and his running abilities so that they can open up and give him time to drop back so they don't have to worry about them blitzing so much, and really just being able to get the ball to his receivers. I mean, even Dallas Goddard, I mean, Giants, were you even going to guard that man? That man, whoever had 2 touchdowns for Goddard, whoever had that, congrats, dude.
Yeah,
That's
kill.
that he was like invisible to the Giants defense. I think if the Eagles can establish that, I think their defense is going to keep them in there. And I think their defense is coached at a really high level. I think they have players that know how to hide in coverages and switch up coverages, and they have D linemen and linebackers that can really provide pressure with only just 4-man rushes. They don't really have to bring the house. But if I were the Eagles, I'd be bringing the house against Purdy, really trying to put some pressure on that kid. Um, I think again, this has the potential to be another under. I think the defenses, I think both defenses are really well. I just think when we look at offenses, I think,
There's a lot of
the,
weapons on both
yeah,
sides.
but I think the Eagles have been more consistent. I don't think if you're the 49ers, you can go and have a first half like you did and keep it close like that. I think if you're not within a field goal, I think the Eagles have the potential to really take away with that in the second half. So my pick's going to be the Eagles, and I'm really liking the under on this one.
I think my X factor for this game, someone not even playing in it. I'm gonna call out the Maslin Perry alumni, Matt Campbell, Brock
There,
Purdy's head coach for 4 years in college, and Nick Sirianni's college teammate at Mount Union. So who's going to be able to pick Matt Campbell's brain better and learn enough about the other to get the advantage?
that's that Purple Raider winning mentality, man. That
That's Bill Mason.
I love that whole entire story. It was funny. I think I was talking to you about it when I was trying to figure out, what's making Brock Purdy so special. And then it was like, oh, he played for Iowa State. Oh, well, there it is. That makes complete sense. Matt Campbell coaches at a really high level. He's a great coach. He knows what he's doing. Like we were saying, he's from Mount. They know how to win. They breed champions. They teach their kids at high level and prepare them for the next level. And they really, really set Brock Purdy up to be as successful as he is. So, all right, man. Well, it's going to be a good game. Again, I think the two teams that deserve to be there are there. And I think we're in for for the NFC. And again, the NFC I think was so hindered this year with the performance from whatever the NFC South, that division. I think that this NFC South, that whole entire division just kind of laid an egg.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at the top side of the NFC, these are the two teams that have been dangerous all year, and I think definitely have potential to win Super Bowls. And I know a lot of people have these two teams winning it. So whoever gets in there, whoever can get out of the AFC, which is going to be another battle as we start talking to them. These are two dangerous teams, and it's going to be, I think, an exciting football game to watch for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. Heading on over to the AFC, we'll start with a game that should have been a blowout, but I think we all can be very, I think we're all very aware, and I think we all were thinking at the second that Pat got hurt. And I know I was looking at the live line because I really like Trevor Lawrence, and I was rooting for an underdog just because how big the money line was. You know, it's always worth to sprinkle a little bit on there. I was looking at a live line during the game, and I think it was, yeah, the first quarter right there, and the Jaguars were at plus 370 live line, and then Pat got hurt, and it instantly swung to plus 180. So it dropped points just like that. But the Grim Reaper, man, he's never dead.
Chad Henne.
Yeah, never can count him out. And then, yeah, Chad Henne's unbelievable. 99
Second time he
yard.
did it to us in the playoffs 2 years ago, came in and got that scramble on fourth down.
Chad Henne, Mr. Clutch, just came in, did his job. And I think that goes to the test that, you know, in the NFL, everyone talks about playing, you know, if you're not starting, I know there gets that, but talk about the guys like Chad Henne who understand the role and understand they got to be ready at all times, and then come in and perform like that. So I think, yeah, I think really the big difference here was Chad Henne going down and scoring that touchdown. That was a whole entire game changer.
5 on that drive. I don't think he threw an incompletion.
No, and I love how Andy Reid was like, you know, backed up own goal line. The first thing we're going to do is throw the ball. I love the
Yeah.
balls on that.
Yeah. Reed's been a great coach for a long time.
He knows his stuff, man. He those players play assignments down and play really great football, but he also allows them the room to be creative. And I think that as much as he's an old school guy, he's still a player's coach. And those guys really play hard for him. Very candid reaction on the sideline between him and Pat. You could see Pat was like, dude, I'm not. But I think again, you look other end of this, right? The Lamar Jackson side of things, where we were kind of talking now again. We don't know the extent of the injury. We don't know, but like, I do think for Pat to know, okay, I'm on one leg, and we could tell he visibly was hurting him. He was literally having some of those plays. He literally just got back there hopped on one foot. I think even one of his scrambles, he at one point made a stutter step and then just ran the next 3 yards, just hopping on one foot. I think that man will play. He played hard for his coach. And I think and the thing was, and I know Andy didn't want him in at all because he respects his player, but to have a player who knows he's hurt, that star power, make that decision, I think that goes a long way of how much they respect their coach and how much they'll fight and do anything for him. I think when you have a coach like that, you play through those type of things.
Good deal.
You know,
just show being the top guy on the team. I'm willing to go out there and play hurt. That's going to get you guys 2 through 53 that they're going to be out there ready to go run through a wall for that guy.
Yeah, and I think again, you go the other end of it. You know, I think when you have a coach like Jim Harbaugh, who's, you know, they're not getting along with the quarterback and there's a lot of problems going on in the front office, it's easy to make that decision and saying, hey, I'm not feeling 100%. I'm not going to go. You know, that's the difference right there. And again, nothing against, I'm not trying to belittle anyone's injuries. It's just, I think there's a different level of passion when you care about the guys. And I think it comes from the coach caring about his players, and the players, like you said, they'll run through a brick wall.
I also think probably even the bigger part of that might come down to money too.
100%.
Patrick's paid right now. He's got his money. He's got his guaranteed money.
Yep. But he's also done the work to guarantee that money.
You
know, not that Lamar hasn't, but
Lamar Jackson won an MVP.
Yeah.
When
true.
He's out there, they can beat any team.
Yep. And that shows.
They're not going to win most games.
No, and that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that, but in the offseason. But I tell you what, like you said,
say that maybe it's Andrew Berry, whoever decided, let's just give Watson 250 mil guaranteed and watch the entire NFL quarterback market just set on fire.
Cleveland just constantly just
two of our rivals happen to have to sign their star quarterbacks in the next 2 years, that they're both going to want more.
Yep, Cleveland just stirring the pot, baby. Even when they're not in it, they're causing chaos on the outside, just stirring it. Well, hats off to Trevor Lawrence, played a great game. I think Jaguars have a real potential here over to be good for the next couple years here, as long as they can keep those guys healthy. I think they showed that they belong. I think the game definitely would have been a little different if Pat was fully healthy, but hats off to the Jaguars defense for doing as good as they did, and the offense operated well. I think it really came down to that one little fumble, and that wasn't even Trevor's fault. That was like on the 2-yard line, that fumble, that was definitely just a tough luck. It's a funny shaped ball, man, and it does funny shaped things sometimes, especially like if you're the Dallas Cowboys kicker. But
and that wasn't blocked, there's no way that was going through.
Yeah, no, that guy, dang,
I love the gamesmanship of the Niners.
Yeah,
going up before the game, getting in his ear, whispering.
That was epic. Just getting in front of him, just really getting in his head. All right, so the Chiefs end up getting that win, but not without a sacrifice with Pat Mahomes' ankle, which still has yet to kind of come out what's going on. But that then led to America's game of the week. Everyone had eyes on this game. And I want to consider this a letdown. I think this game played out exactly how I said it was going to play out, because we were mentioning how like that first 10 minutes of the game that got canceled, how it was playing out. Bengals go down, score, then they hold them to a 3 and out, and then they go down and score again. And then, like I was kind of saying, really the key to Bengals victory for this is they just need to get the Bills off schedule once. They just happened to get them off schedule a couple times, and that really sealed the deal. And I think there was no doubt, if you're watching that game. I mean, for me as a Bengals fan, I always had doubt because I hate jinxing it.
Yes,
but they just looked great in all facets of the game, and really looked in control. And I'll say it again, man. Joe Burrow in the snow, with that man coming out with just his short sleeves on, the white tiger, just being intimidating, man. Like, and again, Josh Allen was even layered up. He had his light long sleeves on. He looked, dude, that's got to be dangerous. But yeah, talk to me. How what was your kind of thoughts on this game?
Damn, I felt like you guys had it from the first snap. It Allen's. I really think ever since what was that, week 8, 9, 10, whenever he had that elbow injury, he hasn't been the same. I know they said it's an injury that lingers. The only way to heal it is rest. And it's just a matter of if you can play through the pain, which obviously he's a tough guy, so he's going to go out there and play it. But I really feel like that impacted his ability to throw those short to mid range passes. That he's just missing a lot of stuff that's not very Josh Allen esque of the last few years. It looked more of like his rookie year, just missing a lot of stuff. But you guys came out to play. Mixon had himself a heck of a game. He was running the ball tough.
I was saying before the game, I was on the phone with my brother and my dad, and I said, I think whoever's team can run the ball well here, especially if it's going to be like this conditions, I think whoever's team can run the ball well here is going to be successful. Yep. I said, and I was actually, again, didn't want to jinx it, but I had envisions of that Mixon 5 touchdown game. It's just like, he's another guy. When he's on, he's unstoppable. He's had a couple bad games, but credit to him and credit to the O-line. Every single person, myself included, was worried about that O-line. And they did a great job. They did a fantastic job. They ran the ball well. They pass protected well. I do think the snow ended up helping the Bengals a lot, because I think it slowed down the D-line a little bit for the Bills, and allowed that short game to kind of work, actually, and they were playing zone. They just stayed in zone defense the whole time and just let Joe, right? So I was watching a Buffalo Wild Wings, so I could barely hear Romo, which I'm really not that disappointed in. But from what I was looking at was a lot of zone defense. and not blitzing Burrow too much. Like I don't know what their strategy was, but come on, right? Like, am I wrong here? Like,
Not everybody knew at this point. If you let Burrow sit back in the pocket, you try to run a zone defense. Higgins, Chase, or Boyd, one of those guys is going to find a pocket. They're going to sit there and he's going to put it on them.
I
I
think
mean, the
every
only way they
single
get stopped by Joe Burrow
yeah, I
is
think every
and that
single
get pressure from him.
like they were turning 3 yard catches into 10 yard games and 5 yard catches into 9 yard gains. And they just, and again, then you go and you look, and Joe Mixon, I think he was averaging like 5.5 yards a carry, like 20 carries for 120 yards or whatever he finished. I mean, that's stats right there, man. Like those guys, that all again, props to that offensive line. The whole world was against them, and those boys came out to play. And yeah, man. And then again, they just kind of they dominated. Like we were saying, they were consistent. And then what's funny is I was talking with the guy I was watching the game with, and I was like, the only thing the Bengals haven't done yet is gotten a turnover. And then the very last play of the game, we somehow the Bengals still get another turnover.
Yeah.
And what a better turnover than Cameron Taylor Britt to get that for his that rookie to get his first postseason interception.
What a
Um,
year he's having as a
again,
rookie. So,
yeah, again, all facets of the game from special teams down to the offense and the defensive play and the coaching. Those Bengals had a great game plan. They executed and delivered a great performance. And now is setting up the King of the North versus the Grim Reaper, man. I think this. I all right. So I was hoping the Bengals would lose to the Chiefs in the regular season because statistics would say to beat a team 4 times in a row, like you're due for a loss. Um,
yeah.
it's
Rush is
hard to
just a better team.
yeah, right. But now I look at it and it's, what? The Bengals are doing the right things. They're being consistent, but that Chiefs offense and their defense too is really, really, really well coached too. Um, this is going to be an epic game, and I think the last 3 have proved that they're epic games. But what are you kind of seeing how this game play? What are the keys to both teams? Like,
It's
what are
going to
their
be,
keys?
I see Mahomes limping around on that hobbled ankle and just slanging the ball sidearm and putting up some points, and Burrow just dicing it. I'm thinking Jamar Chase is going to have, of course, another big day. But I'm going to say definitely going to be over on this game. I'm thinking somewhere around I don't know, 38-35. I think it's going to be a close one-score game, and I'm with you guys. I'm going with the Bengals this week.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I'm seeing the same exact thing too. Um, I think one of the keys, depending on what's going on with Pat, which again we won't really know, and I think the Chiefs will be smart to kind of keep everyone kind of in the lurch with what's going on. It's just a smart to puts pressure on the Bengals to have to kind of plan for both because they're 2 totally different quarterbacks, Henny and Pat. And I know the Bengals have a tough time with backup quarterbacks as is. I think the one thing that the Jaguars didn't do that they should have done was they should have blitzed Pat more. With
Yeah,
the guys on one leg, blitz
make a
him.
move.
Yeah, make him move. And they just let him go back on one leg. And that kind of played to Pat's injury a little bit. But on that, Pat is really great at finding the open man on blitz coverages and knowing where his receivers are. So it's not an all-out blitz type situation, but I do think you have to provide some pressure. Now I know Lou has come up with some. I know we were talking about they have kind of the Chiefs number. Lou Anarumo, that defensive coordinator for the Bengals, he does a great job of drawing up schemes. I'm pretty sure he was the first one to kind of come up with the whole drop 8, only rush 3 kind of game plan against Pat. I I do think you need to just bring an extra guy just to make Pat move on that ankle. No matter because I know high ankle sprains, no matter where you're at, you're not 100%. That and especially the way he plays and his style and what he can do, why he's so good is how he can move and make plays like that. He's not going to be doing that on a high ankle sprain, no matter how many shots he gets, which I'm pretty sure when he came out of that locker room, Pat, he run out there and his first couple plays looked like he wasn't even hurt. I know even Pat McAfee said it. He was like,
Good thing there for a bit.
yeah, I don't know what drugs they gave Pat, but that the good stuff, buddy. Um, but yeah, I think the keys to the Bengals victory is bring in the right amount of pressure on Pat. And then I think offensively, offensive line's got to really contain that strong defensive front for the Chiefs, and the receivers have to do their job of finding the open holes and catching the balls as they come. And I think again, it's going to come down to the run game because Pacheco's a really great running back. So we all know that with Pat's going to be a little hurt. I think you got to lean on Pacheco there, and he's very dangerous. So I think it's going to come down to what team's going to be able to run the ball effectively, and whose offensive line is going to hold up, and who has the ball at the end of the game. I think that's really what this thing is going to come down to.
Biggest factor.
Yeah. So that game's the primetime game. I'm pretty sure. No, that's the first. No, yep, it's the primetime game, the 6:30 game. So that's the Bengals Chiefs going to be at 6:30 on Sunday, and the 49ers Eagles will start us off at 3 p.m. on championship weekend.
And how about that? I'm not hating that 3 and 6 o'clock schedule for these games.
Not at all. I love it.
Kind of nice not having to stay up as late for those 8:30 games.
I love it. I super love it. I know I was saying when the Bengals game finished and the game was right at 6:30, I was like, man, it's so nice because like usually you have to wait another like 2 hours for that game to start, and that thing was turning right around. So I'm right there with you on that one. So what else? Any other? So give me your thoughts here. Any other kind of like conspiracy theories or anything? I know, like for me, the one that's sticking out is what are the Cowboys going to do with Dak, which we kind of touched on. What are some other like things you've been hearing around the league? Anything? Any other news?
And so one that I heard today that I think is just really just asinine and stupid is the Browns trading Nick Chubb.
No way. What?
Yeah, there's people talking about if should the Browns trade Nick Chubb at this point and get what they can for him. I just don't understand that. It's Browns beat reporters talking
Oh no, that'd be one of the Browns have made some funny moves in the past, but I don't think getting rid of your best weapon is the right one. I think Chubb's a guy who you treat him right. I don't think he wants to go anywhere else. I think
about.
he's gonna
Yeah,
die in Cleveland.
to the Tigers if you let him.
Yeah, right. That's and again, I think you guys with Deshaun, I think he's gonna have a good off season. I think you get him a season after everything, kind of let all the dust settle there. I see the Browns as being one of the top teams in the AFC North next year. I do think, and again, that's just year after year. I think the Browns have always been consistent. But I see the Browns, they can keep all their in-house stuff under control, not talking like that. That's crazy. Nick Chubb, anywhere else. Now what would it even take to get rid of a guy like Nick Chubb?
I don't think there's anything that you can get that the Cleveland fan base is happy with. I don't think there is an answer to that.
Cleveland would mess this up and just get a couple third round picks. God,
Yeah.
that would be
People would probably go down to First Energy Stadium and light the place on fire if that happened.
as the Clevelanders. Yeah, the Clevelanders would do that 100%. That's
I wouldn't mind seeing the Browns find a way to reunite another rumor I've been hearing floating around, reunite Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins.
he's looking to get out. That's not a bad pickup. I don't know who you guys give up to get that, but that'd be a great addition to your guys' offense. What about Brady, man? What's going on with Brady?
That's what I was just thinking. I mean, that's the best conspiracy in the entire NFL offseason.
Does he come back to New England? Does he go to the Raiders? Does he go to Dallas? Does he go to 49ers? Like, I think there's some teams that are one quarterback away from really being a Super Bowl contender. And Brady, that's the thing about being Brady is his options are wide open still. But what do you
he allegedly was going to go before he came out of retirement when all the that's where I think he's going to end up, down in Miami.
Miami's a good
I think
pick too.
these
And
concussions might be the end of Tua. There was
yeah,
all the collusion already going on between him and Mr. Ross, the owner of the Dolphins. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't end up just taking a little trip down the road there in Florida and
yeah,
going down to the Dolphins next year.
that's not a bad fit for him either. And I know Mike McDaniels is a great coach and he knows how to really inspire his players. I don't see that as a bad deal at all for Brady. And again, I think Tua really, it's unfortunate, but I think he's really compromised. I think he took a lot of really big shots, and it shows you how violent of a sport this is. Um, and the not that the Dolphins did a bad job, it's just unlucky how it happened, but the
Mhm.
Dolphins are in need of a quarterback, man. And again, you got a guy like Tariq Hill who you paid a lot of money for. You need someone who's going to be able to feed him the ball and manage games. That'd be a good
Sadly
fit.
enough, Tua finally had kind of turned into that guy and seemed like he had turned a page a little bit and was figuring it out and learned to be an NFL quarterback right before these injuries too.
Yeah,
So
that's tough. And then let's do one more. We'll keep it quarterback talk. Aaron Rodgers, man, does he just go do some ayahuasca and ride off into the sunset, or what do we think he's going to do this offseason?
you know, I don't know if I see him really leaving the Packers.
No.
I know he's talked about it, but I don't think he really wants that. I think he watched what happened with Favre at the end of his career and what that did to his legacy.
Yep.
And I think that he may be a bit of an asshole and maybe a little bit of a drama queen to get things his way when he wants, but I don't really see him leaving.
No,
I mean,
I
I know he
agree with
wants
you.
to, but the one that's really stepped up this year is a guy that I wanted back in the draft was Christian Watson. And
Yep.
I think that there could be a relationship built there that Watson can take a huge step up next year and year two.
Yeah. I think Christian Watson is that dude. I think Aaron has voiced this. He has frustrations with that front office, and he has issues with that
Understandably
coaching
too.
staff, understandably. And I think there's going to be a lot of trust to be rebuilt, and I think it's going to come down to they need. Aaron wants his opinion in the draft, and Aaron wants his opinion in the trades. And I think if the Packers
He
want
wants to
Aaron,
breathe.
if Packers want to keep Aaron, they need to give him that. And I think he's earned that right too as a player. We're not talking about we're talking a guy who was an MVP, who's, won a Super Bowl. You need to give
Super Bowl.
that guy your ear. Especially when if you can just give him the players around him. The dudes, I
Yeah.
mean, even with his makeshift team that he had this year, they did well. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, you give, and their running back's great. I think that you give them
Both offenses are tough.
one more offensive receiver weapon. I think the Packers are right back in it as another Super Bowl contenders in the NFC for sure. All right. Well, it looks like we dropped Robbie, but that's okay. We're at the end of our show. So thank you all for tuning in, and Recliner Sports Report merch store, head on over to Etsy, use code Keep the Change for 50% off of all of your Recliner Sports Report merch. It is getting into hoodie season. I also got my nice quarter zip, which allows you to look professional, but also party at the same time. We also got our OG Keep the Change hats, so you can press all those ladies out there. And for your ladies, we do have some nice leggings, some Keep the Change leggings to keep her booty warm for this winter season. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We love you all. And as always, keep the change.